Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. DB333, and welcome back to the new campaign trail. Now, it has been so long since I've recorded anything really that I do not even know when the last time I recorded a new campaign trail was. But I'm pulling that up right now, which I should have done earlier, but I am very out of it, and I wasn't thinking about it. Last time we joined together was with the 4-way Redux mod with for 2016. We opted as Bernard Sanders, and we led the political revolution and ensured that the people of America knew that the American people are sick and tired of women. And there we go. It's been a while since I've recorded anything. I do want to apologize. School's been kicking my ass. Life has really been kicking my ass. Work's been kicking my ass. So I haven't had time to do much of anything. Base burning wind. But I have a little bit more time now because I don't have work anymore. I should be working on some of my presentations that I'm doing tomorrow, but I need a bit of a mental break anyway. And the day that I'm recording, it's not the day this is going up, unfortunately, but today is a very, very important day. On this day, 21 years ago, a great man, a great, great man, brought peace to the Middle East. That's right. May 1st, 2003, United States President George W. Bush gave a televised speech on the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. Bush, who had launched the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq 6 weeks earlier, mounted a podium before a White House-produced banner that read, "Mission accomplished." As we all know since, peace has been brought to the Middle East. There's been nothing but free, democratic, expressive values. Everyone there, Muslims, Christians, Jews, especially the Jews, are getting along with each other. Everything is great again. And in order to pay tribute to that great man and the great things he did, we are going to be hopping in to the most flattering mod that there is that depicts this man. W plus, actually. They just released the Redux a couple days ago, which I'm telling the production team, you guys fucked up. You could have had it released on this day. That would have been way funnier. But no. So-called President Bush has been through the ringer in the 2 years since the Supreme Court and his brother Jeb stole the 2000 election. Long gone is the promise of the reformer with results. Instead of a typical honeymoon afforded to real presidents, W has spent the last 2 years haunted by dismal approval ratings while trying to ram and failing to ram an oxymoronic agenda based on compassionate conservatism through Congress. With conservatism in retreat and the cynicism of the 90s still in vogue, it's looking like Jr. won't be in office any longer than his pa. To have any hope of survival, George Bush must manage minority government through endless scandals and domestic scares, as well as a mutiny among House Republicans to oust that pedophile Hastert. He must also contend with an international scene that still seems trapped in the 1990s, potentially cede the blank canvas that is his foreign policy agenda to Secretary Rumsfeld and Veep Cheney. So this is, I'll pop up the people who made this real quick. Very, very solid mod for the record. Maybe the best new campaign trail mod out there. House Republican Mutiny, where have I heard that before? Well, here we are. Look at him. Behind that, the Texan warmth, George W. Bush's all-wounded ego, at once awed by and infuriated by a father he cannot beat. He did not conquer Yale like Pappy. His military experience did not make him a hero. His time in the oil industry did not make him rich. Instead of winning on his own merits, W has been carried along by his father, his party, the Supreme Court. Still, he believes greater things are possible. He believes in the power of redemption and transformation, in the ability of any man to turn his life around. It just takes a little grit. He needs to believe this. He desperately needs to believe that his presidency was a mistake, that the failures have been worth something. He cannot just be another rich Ivy Leaguer son, carried along by name and money and other people's successes. He will prove everyone wrong by showing that you don't need a thick resume or intellectual curiosity to win. He will outdo his father, even if he needs to burn down the country to do it. And then there he is, the face shooter in chief, Richard Cheney. Dick Cheney is Bush's opposite, gray, bald, and thick-set, with a blank face and a growling voice of easy authority. He abhors stump speeches. The panache of the campaign trail fills him with disgust. When he imagines a good time, he does not think of churches and country clubs like his moronic superior. He thinks of his quiet, spacious office, where lives are made or ended. He has worked for too long to accept anything else. 4 years ago, Cheney accepted Bush's offer to serve as vice president with the understanding that he would have the authority to dictate America's journey through the post-war Cold War landscape, set the agenda for a new American century. While he's had some successes, tearing up Clinton's agreed framework with North Korea, ending American deference to the Europeans, aiding Taiwan, W's scandals have made that work a slog. Unless things change soon, he may soon trade the power of Washington for that of Halliburton. What a horrible Harvey Weinstein looking motherfucker Cheney is. Damn, Kev. By the way, if you're wondering who I'm talking to, I'm filming this live on Twitch.tv. I do all these new campaign videos, for the most part, on Twitch.tv. So if you want to see me do them live, check out my Twitch.tv. So we're doing winner, take all, and this is the state of things. Note how it says the Democratic Party. I don't even know at this point how many alternative candidates there are. But if you all can think back to a Peace with Honor, the candidate that we go up against depends entirely on how well we do or do not do. The fact that people figure out how to do that to begin with still boggles the mind. But I find it very impressive and very cool. And we're going to be going for an achievement. If I can pull up the achievements. If I can find it. I think there's an achievement that I'm trying to think of. I mean, I'll get one of them. I think I might get 3, actually. The one that the image that I scrolled by that might give this video demonetized, that'll be a bit of a hint on what path we're going. It might actually be in the script title, actually. But hey. We like to go bigger, we like to go home here. And I'll put it like this. We are going to do everything that we can to make sure that we go big. And then we'll probably do a sabotage run to go home. Senate Republicans, still aching from November's elections, have deposed Minority Leader Lott after he praised Senator Thurman's 1948 presidential run. Installed in his place to lead the other 41 senators is Bill Frist, administration ally. Can't hide your disappointment, but it does give you an opportunity to distance yourself from previous administrations. So, we still get to highlight this. Gives us a little bit of a framing. 2002 midterms where Democrats retook the House and held the Senate. This is a timeline where 9/11 does not happen. I'll explain that a little bit. I can't remember his name. Was it Sharpton? I think he played Sharpton. Minority Leader Lott, former Senate Majority Leader, one of those devil horn Southerners. Well, we'll have to take any chance we can to emphasize our differences with that toxic Congress of 90s that Lot embodied. We were elected as moderate problem solvers that could break through the Washington gridlock, and doggone it, we'll show the country we're just that. Actions speak louder than words here. First, we'll be able to whip the votes you need, but your personal unpopularity will prove troublesome to efforts to appeal votes from the Daschle grip. Real quick, let's go over what we got to worry about. We have scandals, the national situation, existentialism, foreign policy, and compassionate conservatism. Those are the issues. I like how it'll say that, oh, Arizona's just conservative. California's compassionate. New Mexico is neither. I don't know what these mod makers have against New Mexico, but okay. And then Colorado's both, of course. This year's State of the Union address is promised to be a tough one. Since the Democratic wave of 2000, your agenda has been dead in the water. You have precious few achievements that you can call your own, and plenty of liberals on TV calling for you to abandon your compassionate conservative ideals for more of the same Washington mumbo-jumbo. How are you approaching this year's address? Circumstances demand that I find common ground with these people. Get Danny Boy to draw up a speech about how we want to be a uniter and end Washington gridlock. If that means compromising some things, I gotta get this country moving. Get Danny Boy. White House Communications Director Dan Bartlett. If you're confused. Early 2000 California's pre-conservative. Yeah! I mean, we elected the fucking governor. Which we'll get into him soon enough. Playing into your compromise image earns praise from the New York Times, which is enamored by your pledge to get Washington working again. It is less well received by conservatives like Ann Coulter, who struggle to spin an address that seems like a spit in their faces. Though Arnold was pretty moderate, all things considered. Now, this is going to seem insane. It's going to seem like I'm throwing, but I am not this time. We're visiting Washington, D.C. Yes. Well, first it was a lot. Now Hastard's up on the chopping block. It's relayed to you that Hastert has been accused of paying to keep folks hush about his pursuit of underage male pages. Early polling shows that half the country believes Hastert should resign, though luckily they aren't the ones in control of the Republican caucus. What's your say on the rumors? Laura and I have been dismayed by this whole thing. I know Denny wants all the facts to come out, and he wants to make sure these children on Capitol Hill are protected, but we time to do that. I think that might be a typo. We need time for an investigation. I'm confident the minority leader will provide what leadership he can to law enforcement here. Dennis Hastert, minority leader and suspected minority abuser. Jesus. Oh, big plays indeed, Kev. It's an answer that acknowledges both sides while leaving neither happy. Nonetheless, your appeal to process is seen as what a polarized Washington needs. You play alongs trying to seem dignified in meetings with Democrats with stories about assaulted children. Fill newspapers. The Jobs Growth and Tax Relief Act, a combination of tax cuts, job training, and other policies in line with supply-side doctrine, has been a major legislative priority for you. While the bill has enjoyed overwhelming support among Republicans, Democrats have been uneasy due to studies from the Congressional Budget Office projecting dramatic increases to the deficit and household inequality. The CBO is just another doubter, you muse to yourself, but with liberals in control of the House, you'll need to win some skeptics to pass the bill. How to close the deal? Congressional Budget Office. Federal agency responsible for providing budgets to Congress. Economic reality, unfortunately, has an anti-conservative bias. Well, you bet I'm going to go out there and pull every relationship I have to get this thing passed. I'll be talking the ears off of Blue Dogs about bipartisanship, and now they need to work with me if they want to keep their seats. This can really be a thing where we make the pie higher, get a win that benefits everyone. Blue Dogs are conservative Democrats, a dying breed indeed. As the speaker gavels in, you play to Pray to the Lord on high, he rewards you with Lipinski, leading a dozen other Dems across the aisle, allowing your bill to pass by the thinnest of margins. The next week you make a great show of signing the bill on the South Lawn on the White House. Tax relief for all Americans, reads the Wall Street Journal. Going back to D.C. 2001, the Pentagon's Inspector General notified Congress of the trillion discrepancy in the budget departments. While the administration has explained this is a result of the poor record keeping, House Democrats have wasted no opportunity in inflating this scandal, suggesting UN Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld cook the books. You find the suggestions absurd, offensive even, but the continued investigations are dragging down your support. How do you quiet these nuts? Do we want to spend the next year being forced to chasing our tail? Tell Rummy to work with the Democrats. Find some projects if they didn't keep all their receipts in order. None of our people need to suffer. We just cooperate. This isn't hard. Secretary of Defense and Poppy's pal. Look at that smile. Cooperation yields a slim report from the House Armed Services Committee. It exonerates the Pentagon for lax accounting, but luckily it takes a sweeping view of the problem, blaming systemic forces. Kerry introduces a bill to rein in defense, one sure to piss off Cheney, but you and Rummy live to fight another day. Achievement earned, loose change. There we go. I love the pop-up ads, by the way. Oh, this is one of the new questions that popped up. In August 2001, you bucked the establishment by issuing a directive that prohibits federal grants from funding research involving the creation or destruction of embryonic human stem cells. While in line with your pro-life views, the decision has been criticized by many Republicans and Democrats who view the ban as limiting medical advances. Today, the opposition has come to a head. Over your objections, the Senate has passed a major medical research bill that would mandate grant money be dispersed for embryonic stem cell research. It now goes to the House, where it seems certain to pass by a veto-proof majority. How do you preserve your principles? Yeah. Well, there's disagreement among the rank and file, but I know the House leaders are with me in thinking that this thing is infanticide. Plain and simple. Let's get a strategy meeting with our folks on the Hill and see if we can't whip this bill below a 2/3 majority. Hastert, your friend and savior, appears on Meet the Press, where he solemnly argues that embryonic stem cell research undermines the inherent dignity of children. The bill narrowly fails to reach the 2/3 threshold, and while its sponsors insist that they will try again, it is clear the political momentum is dead. Gridlock prevails once more. We're going to go to West Virginia. If that doesn't get away what I'm going for, I don't know what does. In 2000, you made overhauling Social Security to extend its solvency a major campaign pledge, vowing to lead a bipartisan effort to give individuals the opportunity to invest part of their payroll taxes. However, your efforts have stalled. Republicans are leery of touching an issue that could terrify retirees sensitive to voting Democrats. Meanwhile, they have their own proposals to encourage younger, low-income workers to invest more and to extend the program's solvency. Do you try to salvage your package? You bet I'm gonna. Fixing Social Security is part of my mandate. That's why I got elected. If Dems don't want to get on board with free market reform before the train leaves the station, then I guess we'll have to catch the next one. That's what I'm saying, anyway. We did it, boys, with stop signs. Yes, sir. You pull every string you have, Blue Dogs, spending all the political capital you've accumulated and promising them a part of the spoils. Despite furious opposition from the likes of Senator Edwards, the bill barely passes in both chambers. You watch exhausted as Britt Hume fets you as a new Reagan on Fox. Decision. We're getting a lot of achievements. Goddamn. I guess I haven't played New Campaign Trail in a while on this computer. At least Campaign Trail Showcase. So I don't get achievements. Although long forgotten by policymakers after the Soviet retreat in 1989, Afghanistan is once again a source of international tension and some distraction from domestic agenda. CIA-backed Northern Alliance insurgents have gained momentum against the Taliban regime, creating a refugee crisis in Pakistan. Meanwhile, the terrorist group Al-Qaeda has gained a foothold in Xinjiang. All of this has greatly alarmed Russia and China, who refuse to intervene unilaterally but are seeking ways to deal with the threat. How will you handle this? Solution's obvious. Take the fight to the Taliban. Smoke them out. They can't run, and they can't hide. I don't care about the UN. I want this done. The Taliban faces crushing losses after a major bombing campaign, although several U.S. planes were shot down by the very same stingers the CIA has sent in the country less than 20 years ago. A long reconstruction effort now stretches ahead, but how much grief could one pissant country offer? Just had a flashback to hearing years ago, and so some dudes made a neocon social media site. They called it Reagan Book. What? The U.S. Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, has struck down a Texas ban on sexual relations between same-sex adults. The decision is the opposite of the narrow, cautious ruling that most expected, paving way to challenges of the military's ban on open homosexuality, as well as state and federal restrictions on the ability of homosexuals to pursue child care and employment. Naturally, the religious right is outraged and looking for you to guide for. Why can I not speak all of a sudden? I'm so upset about gay people. That's what it is. Naturally, the religious right is outraged and looking to you for guidance in these frightening times. What do you say to reassure them? People know my position. I believe that marriage is a sacred bond that only exists between one man and one woman, that same-sex relations are sinful by nature. Still, we live in a constitutional system. We gotta accommodate the court and accept their ruling. I promise American families to be their advocate even as I uphold the law. It's not obvious, but the astute members of the press detect a shift. The president no longer talking about upholding family values, but conceding to the court. Has Dick Cheney been whispering in Bush's ear? They ask. Whatever the cause, allies like Jerry Falwell warn of the coming collapse, facilitated by moral cowardice. We're so committed to W around he can't form coherent sentences anymore. You're approached by Dick with startling information. According to the Iraqi National Congress Exile Group, Saddam has obtained a series of aluminum tubes for the purpose of enriching uranium. There he is. CIA satellites, meanwhile, have picked up trailer-like facilities that some analysts believe could be mobile units intended to produce biological weapons. If proven, these stories suggest that Iraq has not abandoned its quest for WMDs, but is secretly accelerating it. This information needs to be acted upon now, Cheney argues. He looks to you for your response. This stuff's crazy, but we need more before we can go public. I want to go back to the CIA, the DIA, whomever, and nudge them for something firmer. Instead of a few pipes and trailers, can we encourage them to find some uranium? Maybe anthrax, something we can use to spook Congress later. Dick glowers, but otherwise accedes to your demand. A few weeks later, intelligence assessment arrives on your desk, conveniently containing information on an alleged attempt by Saddam to purchase yellow cake uranium in Niger. A classified briefing on this new threat is given to the Gang of Eight. To D.C. we go. After an avalanche of bad news, you finally have something to celebrate. Californians successfully recalled their scandal-ridden Democratic governor and replaced him with actor-turned-Republican politician Arnold Schwarzenegger. Given that many Americans currently associate the Republican Party with stodgy old men like Dick, Arnold could be just the thing it needs to reinvent itself. How using the governata in the coming months? Well, Arnie's a lot like me in that he's the kind of guy you want to have a beer with. Let's not complicate this too much with poll-tested bullshit. Just invite him to D.C. and let the press see us having a good time. Macho Governor of California was in a few movies. I'm getting flashback. Oh, man. I am too, goddammit. Jerry Falwell and Coulter, Cheney, Bush. It's a blast from the past. The press has a field day with images of you and Schwarzenegger walking down the halls of the White House laughing. Saturday Night Live commemorates the occasion with a lighthearted skit in which the Terminator and the Bushinator travel back in time to 2000, destroy several Florida vote counting machines. At your administration's urging, the UN Security Council passed a resolution offering Saddam's Iraq a final opportunity to comply with its disarmament obligations and submit to weapon inspections. Although Iraq has allowed inspectors to visit some sites, its officials are evasive on larger questions about its full capabilities. Both Cheney and Powell consider this a martial breach of its obligation. I believe the U.S. is within its right to respond. They look for your directions on the next step. We're making good progress, but let's not forget how quick the Dems in Congress try to sideline us. We need to spend these weeks repeating things over and over again to the people on the Hill to kind of catapult the propaganda. There are only so much good classified briefings can do, but your continued engagement reinforces the importance of this issue to legislators on the Hill. Lieberman is quoted as saying that the intelligence you share is deeply concerning and persuasive. Joe Lieberman recently died. Fell down a flight of stairs. He was 82, so that's the age where that's about enough to kill you. Today, a Senate committee released its report investigating Enron's collapse, detailing the firm's history of risky accounting, conflicts of interest, and deceptive practices. The report also details many ties between the company and your administration, describing calls between your advisors and Enron executives to limit the blowback of the collapse. New details on top of your close friendship with the company's former CEO resurfaces all questions. How you addressed it. I really just remembered Bill O'Reilly. Tides go in, tides go out. You can't explain that. Nothing in this report refuses what we've been saying all along. No official did anything to bail out Enron. I'm grateful to Bacchus for producing a report that shows we acted appropriately and responsibly. Senator Max Bacchus, the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, a Democrat from Montana, another dying breed. A little sugar helps the medicine go down. The radical Democrats still have questions about your awareness and involvement. Bacchus thanks you for your cooperation with investigators, and is sated when you promised nominal transparency and reforms at the White House. Soon your ties to Enron are forgotten by everyone, except a few online bloggers. It's the moment of truth. Cheney's people have shepherded through Congress an expansive authorization for the use of military force against the government of Saddam Hussein. Committee hearings have spawned disruptions from activists along with growing protests in major cities. Liberals like Paul Wellstone have promised to oppose the bill, while senators like Clinton and Lieberman have been unusually quiet, still deciding which way to fall. Everyone is now waiting for your signal. Do you push Congress to greenlight invasion of Iraq, or do you pull back? I've got no time for second thoughts. Push the bill. Ride or die. The Senate votes 72-28. The House vote is only slightly closer. 2 months later, Americans watch on television as rockets rain upon Baghdad. They cheer the black and flashing grins. You, looking on from the Situation Room with grinning Cheney, feel nothing. Well, we're doing pretty well. 363 to 175. We just got to see what the Dems put up. The difference between you and your vice president have not been no secret, and there's been much speculation about whether Dick will remain on the ticket for 04 or return to Halliburton. Today, you hear from Dick that after much thought and deliberation, he's interested in seeking another term as vice president. He believes that there's simply too much at stake given the instability in the Middle East and U.S. commitments around the globe. What do you have to say about that? Well, I've worked with Vice President Cheney for almost 4 years now and continue to have counted on his calm and steady judgment in difficult days. I'm honored to have him by my side. Look forward to having him with me as we mount a global war on those who would seek to threaten our freedom. Together, Dick and I will continue fighting for you and your families. The announcement is accepted without much note from the mainstream press. From party insiders in the Democratic Party, you have usual jokes. Dick Cheney's the president. You're just the moron behind the desks. You put on a good face, but the remarks leave you bitter and angry. When he agreed to becoming a running mate in 2000, Dick said that he severed all of his ties with his former employer, Halliburton. However, if you scan the newspaper, you bitterly realize how hard these statements are to believe. This year, he's on track to receive almost $400,000 in deferred compensation for his time as CEO. Meanwhile, Halliburton has received many lucrative contracts, including many related to the U.S. military's activities in Saudi Arabia, and is the subject of multiple whistleblower complaints. The behest of Senator Dorgan, Senate leaders are now debating whether to open an investigation to these ties. How do you respond? Dealing with Congress is a matter of give and take. Give them a little cooperation, and they'll help us define the narrative. No need to blow this out of proportion. A proposition. I'm guessing this is a intentional. I forget the term. It was something like Carmine Jr. would say. The Senate opens an investigation into you and your press secretary Ari Bob's promise of full cooperation. Ari Fleischer, White House speechwriter. Subsequent hearings unveil some shady practices, overcharging and overly lucrative contracts, but the Sunday shows accept your explanations that this is a result of neglectful career staff, as opposed to anything directed by the Naval Observatory. Here we go. DC. It seems you've had enough. You just can't sit on the sidelines while activists take to the streets to champion the erosion of the sacred institution of marriage. Massachusetts was the first to go, and while there's been no political threat to a nationwide just yet, with conservatism on the ropes, how should this be addressed? Well, politics is, well, it's local. That's what they say, and we could get some backlash if we try to run on this nationwide. We should try to work with our guys and try to turn the issue statewide, whip up local support for some state referendums like the one in Michigan. It begins in California, where Governor Schwarzenegger promises to pass such a proposition during his first term. Soon enough, with your encouragement, Republican governors and legislators put their own props in the work. They're expected to be voted on alongside the presidential ballot in 2004. And there we go. Oh. This is looking very different off the bat. America is baffled. In an outcome that raises the specter of the party's history, Robert C. Byrd, octogenarian senator, former Klan member, and virulent opponent of the Iraq War, has triumphed over a suite of pro-war candidates from the Democratic nomination of a coalition of elderly rural conservatives and young white anti-war liberals. Flanked by John Conyers, his running mate, the very senior senator from West Virginia whipped the convention into a frenzy with an angry, rambling speech accusing you of betraying the Constitution itself. How will you rip him apart? Looks like a Reg Eagle politics map prediction. Yeah. Robert Byrd, for those of you who don't know, he was in the Senate from the 50s until he died in 2010. He is the longest serving senator in U.S. history. He's famous. He was a big figure in West Virginia politics. He got his political start as being a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Very, very vocally against the civil rights movement. But in his later years, he kind of pulled a George Wallace and became more repentful. He famously voted for the establishment of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. He's quoted as saying that he was the only senator there who needed to vote yes. So he's not racist anymore, but he was in the fucking Klan. So, yeah. This isn't just about being racist. It's about honesty. I'm working hard every day to make the people work for the government, but has only ever cared about buying votes with earmarks is Democrat government at its worst. Byrd's unapologetic home state bias has long been a subject of mockery. But all else considered, is a strangely niche line of attack. Speaking at a packed rally outside the Robert C. Byrd courthouse, Byrd crows that his state is full of proof that Big Daddy can get the job done. Oh, Jesus. Well, I guess we'll go to West Virginia. You're standing backstage at the RNC in Madison Square Garden, feeding off the energy of several thousand supporters. On television, you hear the call for the keynote speaker. Who'd you get to try to speak on your behalf this year? Powell knows his stuff. From the Ayatollahs to Zimbabwe and everything in between. I wanted him on stage to talk about how we're no longer apologizing for being American. The Bush foreign policy is about strength and conviction. Monsters prowl the earth, preying on the weak and innocent, sucking the blood of their people. What better testament is there to your leadership than the slaying of beasts like Saddam and the Taliban? The crowds roar as Powell praises your resolve. You glow with pride. Your vice president mutters something about Iran. Oh, jeez. We are 1 point away in D.C. Everyone in Washington believes that you've gotten one of the most open, trustworthy administrations in recent memory. The Democratic nominee, however, has not gotten the memo. In contrast to the rest of the party, which has long written off the integrity question as a dead issue, Burke and I'll go 5 minutes without ranting and raving about your administration's secrecy and arrogance. As it compares you to everyone from Richard Nixon to ancient Roman emperors, how do you respond, if at all? He's attacking us? On this? Well, I'm sure Bud learned a lot about secrecy when he was skirting around with his Klan buddies. Hit him on how he tried to hide his connections any time he brings this up. In reality, Byrd has been long open about his past. It doesn't matter. Only a few implications that he hit his skeletons are needed before he's pummeled with accusations of hypocrisy by the D.C. press corps. We are winning in Washington, D.C. The only holdout is West Virginia. Yeah. With Election Day fast approaching and your administration still holding on to unused political capital, Turd Blossom, Karl Rove, yeah, sounds about right for a nickname for him, has orchestrated a bill to rev up the base in the form of the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. This bill will grant a legal shield to firearms manufacturers and dealers, preventing them from being sued and held liable for criminal use of their weapons. While official messages around the bill is about tort reform, both parties know the real intent is to strip a major tool used by liberal activists and municipalities to respond to gun violence. How do you want to proceed? Hale, we got the momentum, we got the energy. Why don't we go for broke here and make the bill even larger? Work with Wayne's people to add some language that'll punish Democrat-run states if they try to restrict our Second Amendment rights. Take away their transportation bucks or something. The base will love that. The mood for gun-toting conservatives is one of jubilation. Never could they have imagined such riches, such a champion of our interest. For the rest will be a long journey into night. How many children will die? Violent, miserable deaths from accidental gunshot wounds. How many more gun-related suicides will there be? How many more killings? Well, the liberals in your media love to harp on a handful of topics, so you think to yourself you laugh at the press pulling the back of your plane. But your administration's been one of the busiest in histories. You've had so many successes that it's hard at times to keep track of them. Aside from the few big-ticket items, which issues do you want to make a focus on this campaign season? Well, it was so early that most people forgot about it, but my consequences on education can't be beat. No Child Left Behind was groundbreaking, bipartisan, and conflated the bigotry of soft expectations. The welfare of children is something appealing to virtually all Americans. An internal watchdog finds no changes in student achievement. Growing numbers of low-income schools find themselves trapped in a death spiral due to government-imposed sanctions. We're ahead by 10 points in D.C. What the fuck? Campaigning is exhausting every day. A new city. You and Laura to be happy and full of life. To your immense relief, Arnie in California is offered to lighten the load by organizing a rally on your behalf. He wants to know where he should go to act as your surrogate. It's all about defense, security. How about that? Some of that action hero Terminator stuff. Getting good with the macho man image, you know? His cool expression, the broadness of his shoulders. Arnie looks every bit the part as he gazes into millions of living rooms and recalls his childhood in Soviet-occupied Austria. You can't reason with people blinded by hate, he says before an illuminated American flag. You nod along. Policy has never been less relevant in an election before. Since the end of the conventions, America has been utterly transfixed by Robert Byrd the man. They obsess over the length of his time in office, how he would be in his 90s in his first term. They think constantly about his past in the Klan, wondering why nobody ever told them about it before. With these perceptions defining the race, how do you wish to pile on? Are we still pretending this is a real campaign? Look, this is a joke. The old man's gonna lose. I'll be better off just doing my job instead of playing into this charade. You take a trip to Queensland. Prime Minister Beasley takes you to the Australia Zoo. You meet a 174-year-old tortoise named Harriet. Older than time. You joke about not expecting to see your opponent down under. The press pool laughs. You laugh. You're happy to see so many new animals. It looks like West Virginia is our weak point. I guess we gotta go West Virginia. One moment he's holding court in coal country, staring intensely as an old woman cries about how she used to fiddle with her father. Next, he's speaking to a packed Boston Commons, holding students at rapt attention as anti-war banners flutter in the breeze. Beneath his crushing deficit in the polls, Byrd has assembled one of the most peculiar coalitions in political history. A bizarre grafting of Democratic loyalists, campus youth, and backwoods seniors. With each of these groups having almost nothing in common with each other, how do you wish to exploit the division in Byrd's base? This is too damn easy. Go after the minority voters. I'm a strong, unifying leader moving this country forward. Byrd's a bitter old racist who hates you. You can't stick with him just because he's a Democrat. The results of these are mixed. Black voters in the North think about staying home. Those in the South refuse to budge. The real success comes with Latino voters who are driven to frenzy by unsourced chain emails claiming that Byrd hates Catholics. I mean, he was in the Klan. It's not a huge stretch. With your credibility high and the media singing your praises, you decide there's no harm in ending the campaign with pomp and circumstance. Strutting Connie's office. Condoleezza Rice, tippity-toppity national security advisor. You tell her you want to go on a big international trip, something to show America that you aren't just respected at home, but abroad as well. Connie purses her lips and asks what kind of trip you had in mind. Luckily, you've already thought this through. They're calling India the world's biggest democracy. I don't think that's quite right. America's bigger, but with the world change, it's essential that we build ties with these folks. How can we get Singh on our side? Manmohan Singh has been harsh, and there's only one way to silence him in the throngs of anti-war protesters, designating India as a strategic ally, showering with aid, and granting an exception to the NPT. As the two of you watch a military parade, an aide informs you Beijing and Islamabad have issued furious statements. You wave them off. The campaign creeps to a close. Byrd races around the country like a man possessed, giving several rallies a day to perfect crowds. If you look for a savior, someone to rescue them from the wars, the changes, the decline. You know they won't find one. A Byrd presidency was considered near impossibility from the moment he was nominated, and your campaign has kept that way. With your victory on lock and Byrd left with only the passion of his supporters, how will he spend the final days of the election? This is dangerous. He's going around saying who knows what and riling everyone up. It's not good for the country. We can't have a nut like him running things. It'd be a disgrace for our nation. You finish the ad read. The recording stops. Soon it'll be broadcast to millions over and over again. You wonder if it will change a single mind. In a country of 300 million, it must. But you can't imagine who. The campaign is over. Dick stands in the door of the Oval. Rummy sits on the couch. Wolfowitz, Deputy Secretary of Defense, Architect and Destroyer of Nations, a true believer in the Templar sense. Wolfowitz is seated in the chair next to your own. You know, George, the Freedom Agenda can't be restrained to just Iraq and Afghanistan. Wolfowitz clears his throat. It's only complete with final victory of the democratic zone of peace over our entire planet. You find yourself nodding along. If there's even a 1% chance, you feel something approaching crescendo. This ain't about oil. It's about nuclear weapons in the hands of dictators. If you look at a picture from the sky of the Korean Peninsula at night, South Korea is filled with lights and energy and vitality and a booming economy. North Korea is dark. Kim needs to go. Tell the South we're going in. South Korea's military scrambles to put together enough last-minute defenses to ward off an enormous missile barrage from the north. Bill O'Reilly salivates at what supporters are calling your MacArthur moment, as regime TV tells its citizens Armageddon is imminent. Here we go. I don't know how I like these margins. It might be close. We got Vermont, but that's a traditionally Republican state. It's only flipped. Now, Connecticut, well, they elected Lieberman. That doesn't really count. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio. We've already won. We won New York. We won Louisiana. We won West Virginia. Washington, D.C. has voted for a Republican. Oh, this is beautiful. Well, where did it go? We did it, boys. Mission accomplished. Day after election this year, and this is the map. What happens? What do you do? I don't even know what I would do if I woke up and see this. If DC went red, holy shit. The Conqueror. I burn my bridges behind me. I have to pause that, but that's an incredible song that they used. The Ronald Reagan building in downtown DC shuttered. Within its confines stood 1,000 stamping Republicans. Over the course of the evening, they watched the election returns with breathless anticipation, not worried by the possibility of defeat, but instead excited by the promise of a final, cataclysmic victory of the enemy. They waved their tiny flags as the massive image of Britt Hume was projected overhead. The crowd trilled as Kentucky and Indiana turned red. They roared as the wave overtook Ohio and Florida. Their bodies shuddered as the red wave flooded into Illinois, New York, and Hawaii. At 2 a.m., Brett Hume took in a deep breath and announced that George W. Bush had done the unthinkable. He had won Washington, D.C. He had become the first Republican in the history of the country to win all 538 votes. They had called the president insane for his visits to the district and his voter outreach. This was a historic occasion, not one with any parallel in the modern age, not since the nation In the green room, George Bush muted his television. He continued to watch as he mouthed empty warps on the camera, names and faces appearing behind him. There's a clip of his own rally, the mood bordering on religious ecstasy. There's a picture flash across the screen of himself, younger, standing next to Jeb and then his father. He continued to watch the silent images, which lapsed into an ad for Vicks Vapo Rub. The tagline promised relief in seconds. George looked down at his feet and tried to focus intensely on the muffled cheering just outside. By all accounts, he had achieved the stupendous, something impossible. In just 2 years, he had turned himself from a laughingstock to a kind of icon. He was a uniter, a liberator, a decider. He'd vanquished every enemy, foreign and domestic, and achieved everything he'd set out to do. Why then did this achievement feel so fleeting? Why did he feel so hollow? He gazed into the television, and instead of focusing on the picture, all he could see was his own ghostly reflection on the glass. There was a knock on the door. George put on his best smile and invited the guest to enter. In walked his bagman, Blake. He continued smiling as the overgrown boy removed a small blackberry from his pocket. "Well, first of all, congratulations, sir." George nodded good-naturedly. "Your father just called. I know you want to talk to him." Of course. Thank you kindly, Blake. You tell Toad Blossom that I'm going to talk to Poppy, and then I'll be right out." Can't let these good people wait any longer for this, historic occasion." Blake gave a laugh and then shut the door. George flipped the phone to his ear. Well, hiya, Poppy. I was wondering when you'd call." The remark felt pointed and aggressive, but he needed to feel something beyond the still ache. He needed Poppy to provide him with something to make sense of what was happening. I trust you gotta be happy with tonight's outcome." "Well, it's historic. That's what they keep saying on the television, anyway." Poppy sounded like he was sucking on a piece of sour candy. In his mind's eye, George could see his father's tight-lipped expression and the empty glass of bourbon on his desk. "I suppose many consider it impressive." Yeah. "Yeah?" The avoidance on him was yawning. The pain was constant. "Yeah, Poppy, it is. I don't know what more you want me to say." "I just want to make sure. It's important that you not let this get to your head. There's an old saying about showboating." Poppy drifted off. "It would have been easy to let things get to my head after I won a landslide against Dukakis in '88, but I focused on uniting the country, on bringing people together." George said nothing. He felt inconsolable. This is about uniting the country, not stroking your ego. The television had returned to broadcasting the pandemonium inside the Ronald Reagan Center. The screen was alight with raining confetti and red and white banners with his name emblazoned on them. He saw 1,000 signs with his own smiling face and a bright letter W imposed on the wall. George had never felt more desolate in his life. Sure, Poppy. D.C. didn't used to be this Democratic stronghold, you know." The voice on the other end of the receiver seemed distant. "And this election's unusual, but there's been plenty of people who've won landslides before." It had finally become unbearable. "Poppy, I'm afraid I've got to head out." Rove standing right next to me and pushing me to give my victory speech. I kept in mind the dignity of the office, the responsibility. "Okay, I'll talk to you soon, Poppy." They knew they served beneath the Great Seal, and he hung up the phone and was once again alone. He was aware now that there was no hope of transcendence, no possibility of metanoia or spiritual conversation. Standing at the mountaintop and gazing down at the world below, what he felt now was indifference, a void in himself that would never be filled, an entire lifetime of striving to prove himself good enough for nothing. He stood a moment longer and then unhunched his shoulders. With cowboy's confidence, he forced himself back to emerge from his green room and greet his many smiling aides, slapping them hard on the backs or shaking their hands. Then, with Laura at his side, he stepped out onto the stage before blinding lights. He could not see the crowd before him, but then again, he no longer cared. And what a dick senior is, goddamn. Yeah. For some reason, I kind of take a little bit of issue with his portrayal, because from everything that I understand, Bush Sr. was very proud and supportive of W. It's reported that Bush Sr.'s last words were, "I love you too." And he said that to George. So, I don't know. I take a little bit of issue in the portrayal. A little bit, but I know they're going for a certain theme and attitude, so can't complain too. I'm not going to complain too much. Hollywood Reporter. Warner Bros. Email hack raises tensions by Ed Honey. Investigators are probing the origins of a major security breach of Warner Bros. Internal servers. A trove of emails were leaked, including embarrassing exchanges between top talented studio execs, while entire scripts of the highly anticipated films, like the next Harry Potter, were released in their entirety. The FBI has already found significant links in the Hollywood Reporter they're pointing to an unlikely source, North Korea. The embattled communist dictatorship in East Asia evidently waged an act of cyber terrorism against Warner Bros. To release such highly embarrassing material. This followed nearly 18 months of intermittent warfare with South Korea and naval incidents with U.S. warships. While the regime has not taken responsibility for the leak, their state media has made numerous bellicose statements against the studio in recent months, targeting next month's Harold and Kumar Go to Pyongyang, a sequel to the stoner comedy Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. While stoner comedies are provoking the ire of dictatorship obsessed with nuclear weapons may sound like a bad script, senior White House officials insist this isn't Hollywood. That movie came out at the worst possible time, when an anonymous source sighed. President Bush has strongly threatened a ground invasion of the North, and the November 2004 airstrikes against dozens of sites across the country nearly provoked a nuclear conflict. After South Korean President Roh Moo-hyung's diplomatic intervention prevented a full-scale world border clashes have heightened tensions, the possibility of resumption of Korean War remains. Now, the Warner Brothers hack severely complicates matters. In a speech on June 15th, Bush gave what multiple sources close to the president tell the Hollywood Reporter was a shot across the bow to North Korean officials. "We consider any action against the United States military, our nation, or our way of life to be an act of war. This can be military action, like when two ships start shooting at each other, or can be through other methods. We know what they are, and will retaliate with all the force it takes." Now the White House is reportedly considering their options against Kim Jong-il's regime, including military action. During the Bangin-Yoko incident in 2005, it was widely reported the White House was hours away from triggering a massive preemptive strike against North Korea, potentially including nuclear weapons. The November 2004 conflict has been well publicized by Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward, whose book Strike released earlier this year. In one passage, Woodward recounts a conversation between Bush and Cheney, where the president asked, "Hell, why don't we just drop a nuke on the damn place?" The only thing reportedly stopping the president from triggering a nuclear strike on the Korean Peninsula was the intervention of Secretary of State Colin Powell, who resigned last week. On Monday, President Bush announced he was appointing UN Ambassador John Bolton to fill the role. Harold and Kumar Go to Pyongyang launches on July 14th, along with the nukes, probably. Years after the 2004 election, a D.C. mystery unravels. It goes without saying that the 2004 presidential election was a race unlike any other. Just like the matchup itself, a well-respected wartime president against an anti-war octogenarian institution of the Senate would have been enough to put in the history books. But of all of the race's twists and turns, perhaps the most dramatic was the definitive moment of the election night. President Bush's unprecedented victory in the District of Columbia. Even those who were the most optimistic about the size of the president's potential victory hadn't penciled in a win there, and for good reason. Not only had every single Democratic presidential candidate won D.C. since it had been given the right to vote in presidential elections before 2004, none had ever received less than 7% of the vote. The district also quickly returned to form thereafter, giving Senator Joe Biden 85% of the vote in his losing 2008 presidential bid. Even if you look at the local level, you'd still be hard-pressed to find any precedents for Bush's vote, the closest possibility being the 1994 mayoral race, where district Republicans won 41% of the vote and still lost. And while Byrd did do uniquely poor across the country's urban areas for obvious reasons, none of those drop-offs from 2000 came even close to what he faced in Washington. To put it simply, what the hell happened? In the media aftermath of the election, it was hard to get answers. Democratic operatives in the city were perhaps understandably tight-lipped about what had occurred. Although they did appear curiously indifferent about the biggest humiliation for the city's party in its history. But now that many of those same staffers had moved on to new jobs, new places, and new parties, they're starting to open up about what happened. And that picture that they're putting together is one that may have one Robert C. Byrd spinning at Mach 9 in his grave at Arlington National Cemetery. To put it simply again, they were in on it. The distaste even disgust members of Democratic establishment felt towards Byrd during the 2004 election was well known even at the time. Those who were willing to accept his racist past couldn't get over him being anti-war, and those who were willing to accept him being anti-war couldn't get over his racist past. It led to breakdowns in party support for his ticket across the country. Nowhere was this more acute than in D.C., where staffers and volunteers alike disagreed with Byrd on both aspects of a campaign. Some ghosted the entire election season. Many more volunteered for third parties more aligned with their sensibilities. But for the cream of the crop of D.C.'s local political class, the destination of choice was standing by the president, both covertly and overtly. I spoke to one of these double-agent staffers, now an executive for Facebook, about why so many of his peers made a decision. Speaking off the record, he told me it was a combination of principle and self-interest. Let's be real. None of us were really with the old man of the war. Our delegation was unanimous for Clark for a good reason. And add in what the feelings were at the place we wanted to work for. Look, at a certain point, it starts to look better if you weren't part of the process. I got that old racist, his only electoral vote outside of West Virginia. So yeah, we met up with those guys in our frats who worked for the other team. We gave them some funds, same as we did with the third parties. Some of us even knocked on some doors for them. Pretty much everyone knew what was going on at the time. Honestly, I'm just surprised the results have been taken at face value for so long. So, a turncoat party infrastructure, money being sent to D.C. from the DNC and the Byrd campaign, finding its way into the hands of the enemy, the best hands doing field work for the other side. Still, even this doesn't explain why the 2004's nominee did so poorly. And what did the former staffer mean by taking things at face value? Look, it's not nice, but this is how it's always been done. Lyndon Johnson was one of our greatest presidents and he did it all the time. We just couldn't let the city get embarrassed, all right? We couldn't have been the last ones voting for that man. It's not like it would have made a difference. And besides, when you do that, those people weren't just voting anyways, right? They already didn't like him. There were major drops in turnout. What was the harm in making that a little more explicit? Very interesting. I'm looking at just the graph right here, and holy shit. Almost 70.1 million votes. Robert Byrd almost got half of that. 20. 70 million. Donald Trump received 74 million votes in the last election. That was during COVID, when the only thing you could do in November was vote. Previously, in 2016, Clinton won the popular vote with 65 million. Almost 66 million. We have beaten every... Let me go back to 2008. We're close to Barack Obama numbers. Look. Barack Obama got 69 million votes. First, nice. Second, what the fuck? What the fucking fuck? Closest states, West Virginia. Even West Virginia couldn't do it. D.C., Arkansas being close. It was... Oh, Jesus. The third closest state was... We still won by 10 points. Was the least close state. Oh, Utah. Yeah, that makes sense. Alaska, Nevada, Kansas. The furthest state is Utah. Highest bird percentage. Yeah, West Virginia, South Carolina, Alabama. Yeah, Jesus. I'm gonna make sure we mute the site. And real quick, here's the canon results for your viewing enjoyment. We're gonna play again. We're gonna do all that again, except we're gonna fucking throw. Throw as much as we can. We gotta get a lot of victories. So let me get that guy I was looking at back up. There we go. I would have thought that Alabama, good old Bama, would have been close for obvious reasons. Okay, circumstances. We're also going to visit DC again. But this time we are throwing. We're going back for Byrd again, but I'm going to see if there's any chance we can throw. Take the fight to the Taliban. Not a 10. You just gotta repeat. Saji goes. Ride or die. We'll keep Cheney. Alright. This is where I think we can throw. So Dick Cheney lied about connections to Halliburton. Well, this Halliburton shit's been a bomb on our feet since day one. If we play ball, we'll blow our legs off. We convince them leaves not to touch a thing, at least not till the election's over. Tangent Man, Andrew Card. Your attack against Wilbur Media gets you from Doshel, Reed, Mikulski, and Dorgan, where your pathetic begging is met with conceived loathing. Send authorized an investigation to Halliburton that turns up lucrative contracts, overcharging, and apparent retaliation against career staffers who raise alarm. Protesters rally against outside the White House fence. Same-sex marriage. Let's do this. All sinful stuff, absolutely abhorrent to my sensibilities and the sensibilities of millions of Americans out there. If we put some stuff about this in all our rallies and speeches, we can drive out turnout and take back Congress. Have Bart write up some lines that we can use out there on the trail. This energizes the Christian right and keeps them motivated and going to your rallies. A lack of actual action, the issue causes some whispers, but your supported confident amendment will be passed when you flip Congress. There we are. The Klan Man-in-Chief. 359 to 179. America's baffled. We have a literal goddamn former Klansman up at the board. Well, he wants to make this about the war? We'll make this about the wars. If you go by the book, we wouldn't have had to defend ourselves from threats like Saddam. America won't be safe with Byrd's old-fashioned ideas. Whipping out a constitution from his breast pocket, Byrd declares his book, is U.S. law. He says he's proud to stick with the old-fashioned ideas in our founding documents. His crowd respond with a fervor you've never seen in your life. Rove says it's just noise. It's ringing some bells already. Flip DC. Powell again. Let's see what we got. I might need to look at the benefit check here, honestly, to figure out what would be the worst. I think this will be it. How do I... Oh, there we go. Is that a Shrek 2 ad? It's a fucking Shrek 2 ad. With AOL. Look at that. Byrd backed Clinton. He doesn't really care about this. He's just an angry old liberal trying to tear this administration down. Let's make it clear that no Democrat has any feet to stand on with the truth. These attacks harden old battle lines. Pundits cry that you're limiting your appeal and dividing the country. You take their cries as vindication. Why try it when they'll never give you an inch? Did you know AOLs is somehow still a thing? I didn't. I don't know if I'm surprised, but... Well, listen. This whole preventing gun manufacturers getting sued, that thing's great, Turd Blossom, but we don't gotta go rushing into this during an election year. We have to be expanding our appeal, reaching out, compassion, you know? Can we solve wheels on this train till 05? Wayne LaPierre has been spending tens of millions to whip blue dogs and Republicans pass this bill. Your last-minute hesitancy succeeds only in pissing off your own team and ensuring you get no credit for signing this bill into law. If there's any consolidation, it's that the liberals are making someone other than you into their villain for their change. Well, what shall we point towards? Well, in the debate about the rights of the unborn, we asked people to broaden the circle of their moral concerns. Under my leadership, America banned partial abortions and stopped federal dollars from going to any group that provides abortion. Your administration's hostility towards reproductive health has been a drain for the pro-life movement. The sudden limits on contraception causes a surge in unwanted pregnancies and maternal deaths nationwide. It's actually looking good for Byrd. What do we want here? We'll just do the same one. I don't know if it'll matter too much. Let's see. Well, policy's not relevant. What should we hit on? We can really make some inroads here. Let's make this a history lesson. But it's not an aberration, it's just a crazy example of a party that's been all about race division from day one. This doesn't work. Ads centered around quotes from Franklin Pierce bore voters to tears. Paint attempts by your circuits to connect Byrd with Jesse Jackson are met with blank stares. Swartz-Anderson, two-time presidential candidate, critic both Reagan and Clinton, has become a figure of fear and scorn for many white moderates. Byrd rambles that you can't stand him bringing people together. the fact that we try to connect a Klansman, former Klansman, to Jesse Jackson is never not funny. One moment, he's holding court in coal country, staring intently as an old woman cries about how she used to fiddle for a man. Well, how the fuck are we gonna split this crazy fucking bass? Oh, wait. Let's think about outside the box. Those kids, there's no way that they love Bird for Bird. The old man's just the only one that they see in their bubbles. Let's get out there on their shows speaking their language. I'm sure it'll make them see the light. And a series of awkward appearances culminates in outright disaster after Rummy is accidentally scheduled on Democracy Now! He abruptly leaves his interview in a rage after Amy Goodman presses him on his initial projections of Iraq War. The surreal episode dominates the news until Election Day. Okay. Well, where are we going? Well, Africa's a continent blessed with much beauty, but it's suffered a lot too. I want to go celebrate my award on PEPFAR and show the world we can do better good than nobody. All you want to do is celebrate the lives you save with PEPFAR. Instead, everywhere you go is overrun by reminders of people's scorn. Anti-war rallies sweep Mombasa. Desmond Tutu scorns your claims of compassion. The radios are flooded with claims that you're waging a war against Muslims worldwide. You don't understand why. Well, we're almost there. We're almost losing the traditional Democratic base. It was my understanding if I flubbed this more, I could flub this more. I don't know what happened. I'm doing too fucking good. For my own good. Oh dear. Let's talk with Jeb. Talk Jeb. You joke about how you thought it would all be harder. You expected that they'd give him more of a fight. All he can do is stare. He's looking at a portrait behind you. Bird brings the clan side. True. Final results. It's closer. Further reading tells you read the Bible. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna have to do that again. But I got it. How's it look at the start? Jesus. Doing on disaster mode. It's going longer than I hoped it would, but moderate problem solvers. Yeah, I'm trying to get Bird to win. I'm actually trying to get Bird to win here. I managed to do it off screen. I start getting like bad. Fight the Taliban. Supporting you, DB, by watching an ad. Thank you. Can't even hear that. Thanks. Massage the egos. And run, ride or die. I might have kicked Shanny off last time I did, honestly. Well, no compromise when it comes to protecting our families. Men's what it takes. When we push, we vote. And we pray we can push that amendment through the Congress. In fact, I'm sure we'll put the states into passing it. This didn't pass. The powerful chair of the House Judiciary Committee, John Conyers, whipped enough support during the submission hearings to turn into a humiliating show for the administration, leave conservatives across the country praying for blood and donating to your campaign. Now that's what I expected. That's what I was hoping to end up seeing. Okay, that's a little bit more reasonable now. Powell. Make it partisan. Why does W always have a look on his face like he went to take a fart and almost shit himself? God damn it. That got me, Kevin. Do. Oh, I could have read that one. That was different, but oh well. PEPFAR. Oh, I want to check something real quick. The only country our enemies hate more than the United States is Israel. I want to build a strong relation with the president, that Ariel Sharon fella. The Israeli establishment celebrates you in adoring terms. Finally, the U.S. is acting like a policeman of the world. Finally, is removing despots and dictators like Saddam Hussein. In a private meeting, the finance minister, which I believe at this time was Bibi Netanyahu, urges you to go further, to liberate Iran and Syria. Only then will the world be free. Only then will Israel be safe. You're not along. Yep, I remember hearing about that. If I remember, I'll include the link if you guys want to donate to that. I'm not going to dox my info right here. Your campaign, a Byrd presidency was considered a near impossibility from the moment he was nominated. Your campaign has kept it that way. Well. All right. This will be more like it. It's just the traditional Democratic Party coming out. See, we got Indiana. It's very close in Indiana. Why does he have that wide-eyed mouth and gape expression fucking constantly? Man, it's just perpetually sharding. Clan slide incoming. Oh. Oh no. Red Minnesota. Yet blue Alabama in 2004 is so cursed. My God. The Klansmen took the solid South. Oh no. We almost lost. We only won Texas by 3 points. Barely won Oklahoma. Look at that. Or New Mexico. Or Louisiana, actually, for that matter. Strangely close in some places. That moment when Hawaii votes more to the right than Mississippi. God damn. What? Okay. I'm gonna have to unmute this and listen to this song off camera. I don't want to get the video demonetized. The excitement inside the Reagan building in downtown D.C. had been building the hours before the polls closed. Republicans decked in red baseball caps and pins and small American flags had descended upon the building, excited to see just how badly they beat Robert Byrd. Bush campaign volunteers passed out popcorn while a projection of Fox's Brit Hume intoned on rock-bottom Democratic turnout and the possibility of a historic outcome. New York could flip, so could Hawaii. This could be the final absurd defeat of the Democratic Party and the so-called anti-war movement, he informed a gleeful crowd. Then, as the hours ticked by, the celebration found itself plunged into darkness. The blue strongholds did not fall. There was no great victories or conquest. Instead, the assembled crowd watched in horror as the blue South rose from its grave. A jagged blue line cut its way across the South and Appalachia, leaving a jagged scar across Bush country. No network had called anything by 3 a.m. because what was happening was impossible to conceive. Donald Trump has won the 2016 election. George stared at the television in his green room. His breath was shallow. He felt lightheaded. This could not be happening. It was a trick, a fraud, a lie. He watched a dazed Hume fumble with a set of papers and clear his throat. According to Fox's projections, Robert Byrd, octogenarian, was on a path to defeat. Bush turned off the television with his remote and then flung it across the room. It cracked open and batteries spilled out across the floor. He needed Rove. He needed Rove to get in here and explain how they could get over this. People had told him it was impossible in 2000, and then Rove had helped Jeb. Sir? George was aware that his hands were around his own neck. He let his arms drop and turned slowly to face, not Rove, but his bagman, Blake Gottsman. The boy, angling with spots of acne, shifted his weight from side to side, like an untrained sailor attempting to keep his balance. George stared at him without comprehension. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, Mr. President. Blake looked at him, and George stared back wordlessly. It's your father. You told me to... I can tell him to call you back later if you... No, I'll talk to him. Give it here, Blake. As if in a dream, George felt a small cell phone press itself into his hand. He watched his concerned bagman walk out of the room, a concerned look on his face. He stared at the device for a fraction of a second, and then, with shaking hands, threw it to the air. There was a small click as he took it off hold. Poppy. The silence, on the other hand, of the phone was long and unbroken. Then, when it last had become unbearable, he heard his father's familiar voice. I'll be surprised if you can show your face anywhere after this. It was as if he'd been punched in the belly. I don't. An octogenarian. octogenarian, a relic. Robert Byrd, Christ. There was sound of rustling papers as if Poppy was digging for something in his office. If he were younger, I'd understand. I suppose the anti-war stuff has its appeal. The race stuff, too, even if he says he's reformed. George shook his head. He couldn't speak. He felt on the verge of tears. But Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd. How'd you manage to lose to Robert Byrd? What a disgust and embarrassment. Unbelievable. George's body shook as his body involuntarily bent at the waist. He leaned himself against the wall and struggled to breathe. Poppy. Childish. Stupid. Travesty. I didn't think there was any low you could sink to that could surprise me anymore, but I was wrong. Please. At least Clinton was a respectable candidate. But this! Poppy's voice was deep and dark. Every word tore a new wound. Do you understand how humiliating this is? This all is for the party. For your mother. For Jeb. We gave you every opportunity. And you not only wasted it, but you made us into laughingstocks. So go ahead. Finish crying in your room by yourself and then concede. It's the least you can do. George took in a deep, quivering breath. Daddy. Grow up. There was a click as the line went dead. George made an awful noise and let the phone drop to the floor. He knew what he needed to do, but he could not make his body move. The room shimmered and then blurred, as if something wet fell from his cheeks. He did not know what the future held, but he did not see a place for himself in it. Post-midterms postmortem, The President Still Knows Best, by Leland Palmer, Daily Kos staff writer. What the fuck is this? I'm still trying to figure that out. The midterms have now come and gone, which means that the media is back to doing what it does best, saying that our president, Robert C. Byrd, doesn't know what he's doing. Still bitter that their pre-election obituaries didn't pan out in 2004, and unwilling to admit that a 60-year-old political veteran maybe, just maybe, has more knowledge about this business than them, that they're declaring this to be the moment that the administration has died. And their solution? Surprise, surprise, don't run for re-election, don't follow through with what your promises to voters, and just follow the warmongering consensus in D.C. so the Democratic Party can stay alive for 2008. Who would have thought? Senator Hillary Clinton, this election a sobering message to our party. Former Secretary Rumsfeld, Americans prove they still care for Kim, stopping nuclear program. I appreciate them for being honest at least, because the fact that they're still saying this with these results prove that they're just going to spout this bullcrap no matter what. Grover Cleveland and Dwight Eisenhower would have killed for a midterm year if this successful, but sure, whatever. You know the rules. If you lose a Senate seat in Maryland and fall short, and taking out a turncoat free like Lieberman, you now have to resign from office and let Shrub be president again. Heads, I win. Tails, you lose. No matter what, the only way a party is allowed to operate in this country is to start 5 different wars, cut Social Security, and create the kind of surveillance state that would make even Richard Nixon blush. Thankfully, our president isn't buying into this. I'd implore the wreckers on the site who think that the party needs to run away from him to listen to his speech yesterday. It shows exactly why we supported him back in 2004 instead of your golden boy Clark. Just listen to his responses to the first question. What do you make of the results? Clearly a pointed attack, and the president wasn't having any of it. He seized control of the narratives, letting that prick know that he thought the results were just fine indeed, and putting them on notice by telling them that all you reporter boys thought Dewey would win 2 years ago. Some were confused by the president's allusion here, but their ignorance only proved why they aren't political virtuosos like him. By comparing Shrub to Thomas Dewey, President Harry Truman's failed opponent in 1948, he was making a very clever point that his predecessors was always an Eastern establishmentarian at heart, with a media apparatus staunchly behind him. Like Shrub, all the oh-so-wise pundits thought Dewey would win, but also like Shrub, he lost. It was an important reminder to all those asshats that they haven't been as smart as they think they are for quite some time. New poll, 86% of Americans see Byrd as unfit to serve. Majority support revoking the 25th Amendment. Dick Cheney on SNL. Watch his hilarious Soprano sketch with Uncle June as the you-know-who. But the clever comparisons didn't stop there. When asked by a hack from Fox News if he would finally listen to consensus from the intelligence community and work to neutralize the Pyongyang regime's threat, the president threw shade once again, showing how he's operating on an entirely different plane. He whispered wisdom with a sly grin, speaking thus: "Can't do that. Can't do a war there. Gotta end this for Harry. Can't get Taft in office." Yet another masterful illusion. By comparing the current GOP to the infamous Senator Robert Taft, he showed the country what they truly are: anti-labor, Nazi-sympathizing hacks who want to drive America into a ditch for the benefit of their own corporate owners. This is why Shrub and all of his handmaidens, from the corporate media to the Hildebeest, New York, can never understand. It's why Byrd won. Americans want a president who knows and can learn from history. He was willing to sacrifice the twilight years of his life to teach the people this lesson, but with so many refusing to learn from it, looks like his job isn't over. The doubters, bedwetters, and fake pollsters can go take a hike. If things don't change, I think we might just need a Byrd 08 campaign. And I know I'm not alone. I feel after reading that as if someone tried to tell me about the academic merits of Rick and Morty. And how I'm not intelligent enough to understand it. Discussed. 253 comments. BroadwayWorld.com. American Psycho on Broadway. A complete guide. Get all the details you need about the show making a killing on Broadway. Looking for information about one of the hottest shows on Broadway? Broadway World has the scoop on all you need to know about Patrick Bateman's Broadway killing spree. Details below. I'm actually upset. I don't blame you. Yeah. Where is American Psycho playing on Broadway? American Psycho is... Excuse me. I have a bit of a cough. Been sick the past couple of days. I was wondering when this was going to come back and bite me. It's doing so now. American Psycho is running on Broadway in the Winter Theater Garden. The Winter Garden Theater. The Winter Garden Theater is a Broadway theater at 1634 Broadway in the Theater District of Midtown Manhattan in New York City. How to get American Psycho on Broadway? To ride by subway, take the 1 to 50th Street, or the N, R, or W to 49th Street. The Winter Garden Theater is on Broadway between 50th and 51st Streets. When did it open? American Psycho began previews on October 18th, 2011, and opened on November 14th, 2011, then starring Josh Groban as Patrick Bateman, Andrew Rannells as Paul Owen / Detective Kimball, and Britney Spears as Courtney Jean. Has received mostly positive reviews on its first opening, with many praising the cast and politically conscious script. The New York Times praised it in its review, Age of Avarice, which characterizes its satire of America's corrupt, business-oriented, obsessed culture of excess as a breath of fresh air. Is American Psycho playing outside New York City? Yes! American Psycho is currently touring the U.S. and has productions running in the West End, China, and Korea. Touring productions are currently running in Australia and Germany, with a Middle Eastern debut planned to debut in Abu Dhabi later this year, with mild alterations to accommodate censorship. What was American Psycho based on? American Psycho is very loosely based on the controversial 1991 novel, American Psycho, by Bret Easton Ellis, 2000 film of the same name, starring Christian Bale. What is American Psycho about? Set in Wall Street during the investment boom of the 1980s, American Psycho depicts the daily life and struggles of a young investment banker named Patrick Bateman, while Patrick makes himself as a suave and compassionate problem solver by day. He spends his nights consumed by feelings of inadequacy, rage, anxiety, and bloodlust. Through this rampage through the shallow and superficial world of Manhattan, the audience learns about Patrick's feelings of contempt towards a distant and disapproving father, his antipathy during the corporate yuppies who will never accept him, and his deep-seated hatred towards women and minorities. The more he succeeds, the more empty he feels. The bitingly satirical production won 8 Tony Awards and a Grammy. It features a book by Dave Malloy and music and lyrics by Duncan Shriek and Trent Reznor. American Psycho features a number of Billboard charting songs by its award-winning cast. These songs, which range from pop to 80s inspired synth beats, include Cards, Idea of Me, Because I Love You, Lethal, and No Exit. It also features covers of Hip to Be Square and In the Air Tonight. What's this I hear about the movie? Owing to the international success, American Psycho is heading towards the big screen next summer. The cast includes Ansel Elgort, Armie Hammer, and Katarina McCrimmon. First-time director Hugh Jackman hopes that the film will bring American Psycho to a new audience while preserving the anti-green message that audiences everywhere have come to love. It's been rated PG-13. I still don't know why the fuck it turned into this. You know what? Fuck it. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for now, friends. Thank you for joining me with W. If you want to see me do this again, consider like 80 different fucking candidates. If you want to see me do a different run, tell me in the comments which run you want to see most. I have one in mind that I do want to check out, which we will get to when we get to. But until then, thanks so much for watching. If you like, dislike, leaving comments, feedback down, leaving comments or feedback down in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I appreciate any and all feedback you might have for me. Check out my various links down in the description box below. Hit the sub button and notification bell if you want to keep it up to date with these uploads. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, my friends. Thank you all for watching. My name has been Mr. DB333, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.